Hello, I'm Lisa Leight, and you're listening to A Shark's Perspective.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective. I am Kenneth Kinney, but friends call me Shark. I am a keynote speaker, a strategist, a shark diver, host of this show, and your chief shark officer. If you've ever worked closely with a call center environment like yours truly, then you know the power and need for a good call center software platform, often referred to as a dialer, which is a piece of technology that helps enable a call center team to make more outbound calls, handle more inbound calls, do them faster, which is so important, be much more efficient, and with some guardrails that help call center personnel do so in a more compliant manner. Then what is the future of speed to lead in call center technologies, and how can they help you get and close more sales and conversions? Lisa Leight is the Chief Marketing Officer of Convoso, a predictive dialer and leading cloud-based contact center software for sales and lead generation teams. And on this episode, we will discuss the state of the state with call center platforms, ROI and efficiency with costs, speed to lead, integrating technology, compliance, the Consumer Consent Council and PACE, the future of predictive dialers and how AI plays a part with that, speeding race cars, candy, inbound and outbound, good industries for dialers, and a lot more. So let's tune into a Convoso marketing officer with a shark marketing officer on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Lisa, welcome to A Shark's Perspective. If you will, tell us a little bit about your background and your career today.
Sure. My name is Lisa Leight. I'm Chief Marketing Officer here at Convoso. Convoso makes the fastest, most powerful dialer for outbound and sales teams. And my background, I spent early parts of my career with large professional services firms like McKinsey and Ernst & Young, and then graduated to really advising and leading marketing teams for technology and software companies. I've been at Convoso for coming up on 4 years now.
Do you have a CPA?
I have my CPA, yes, my CPA and MBA.
So how did you go from CPA to blend into marketing?
You know, I think I was always a marketing person at heart, but I kind of forced myself because that seemed like a smart move graduating from college. But it really helped to form a metrics-driven marketing strategy, because everything is you got to look at the ROI of everything you do.
Well, you went from McKinsey to the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, and that's almost like a midlife crisis as far as careers go, with that big of a shift. But
yes.
let's talk a little bit about dialers and contact center software for sales and lead generation teams. Where are we generally with the technology as it exists in the industry as a whole?
So, dialers, they've always been about, trying to get prospects and customers on the phone in the most efficient way possible. And I think a lot of times there's a lot of those that are out there that are, kind of more of the commodities. And I think where the smart thing to do is really look at, just like I was talking about ROI, but, you really got to do the math and think about it not as simply a cost line item in your budget, but what tool are you selecting, the technology and the tools that are really going to drive your top line, as well as be most efficient with your total set of expenses. We talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people are being, penny wise and pound foolish. Like, well, how much is it going to cost me? And that's more than I'm paying now. And really, if people are approaching the decision of, do I switch to a dialer, or do I switch to a new one, or you really need to look at what's it going to do in terms of getting more people on the phone, getting more conversations, getting more opportunities to convert. What is that going to translate to in revenue? And how is it going to make your people, your agents, more efficient?
Yeah, it's so often that I talk to people about lead generation and they think about the cost of the lead itself, but they forget about a lot of the missed opportunity costs. And that's where a lot of things like with age leads with the proper dialer or call center platform can really narrow that gap if you can look at the math on both sides.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And we think of like efficiency across three buckets. So there's the agent efficiency, the lead efficiency, and then kind of the management time efficiency. So what you said about lead efficiency, we see people all the time and they're not getting the conversions that they want. What do? They buy more leads, and they keep pouring more leads into the machine. And really, you need to make sure that you've got a systems in place and processes in place to optimize the leads that you are buying. So are you working through, do you have the workflow, the automated workflow to reach out to those leads in the way that's going to be most powerful and most likely to get them on the phone? Also, do you have the granularity of reporting and analytics to understand what's your ROI by list, by lead source, by lead vendor, so that you can, stop throwing bad money after good. If you see that a list isn't performing, let's, stop that and put your agents on the lists and the lead sources that are performing. So there's really a number of things that people should be doing. The smart, dialer managers and call center operators are doing to maximize their lead efficiency. In terms of agent efficiency, you see a lot of, how do you make the most out of your agent time? That's one of the most expensive cost items in a call center. So are they spending all their time listening and dispositioning answering machines? How can you get smarter about answering machine detection so that your people, first of all, they're not wasting their time, and then when they finally do get a live person on the phone, then they're suddenly a little bit lulled into sleep because they're not quick on their game. And finally, the other category was management, which is how do you make the most of your management time to give them the tools to make the smart decisions that they need to make.
This is across the board with any business, whether they've got a call center or not. There's a problem with having a lot of MarTech that doesn't integrate and talk to each other. But I find so often that so many people, for example, they get focused only on their CRM, and then they, at best, make buying a dialer an afterthought, and then they don't think about how it really connects well.
Right.
Talk about the importance of integrating a dialer with other technologies in your marketing and tech stack.
Right. No, so that's very important because, like I said, in terms of the purchases that you're making, in terms of leads, and making sure that you've got the back and forth to see the performance by those different sources is key. And also making sure that it's efficient in terms of agents who are working between different systems, making sure that they can easily get the information at their fingertips to manage those things. And again, it's really not just looking at things as a cost item, but what can you do to get more folks on the line? That alone could really drive your top line.
Yeah, it's something I see all the time where they also don't think about, do I need to buy something to add on with the scripting technology? Do I need to look at multiple vendors for SMS conversations? Right. Does it integrate with some sort of mailer to do campaigns? And the more that people start to think about that, they start making better decisions that have better communications with their potential customers and then soon to be customers. So
yes. And Kenneth, you said a couple of different things there that I'd like to touch on further. So you talked about dynamic scripting. So dynamic scripting, obviously having it incorporated into your dialer is going to be most efficient. But there again, it's a tool to support saying the right thing at the right time. Certainly from a compliance standpoint, I know our customers in the solar industry, they need to say certain disclosures at the beginning of every call, and that differs state by state. So dynamic scripting, it's a tool to make sure you're being compliant, which can be costly if you're not. It's also a training tool. So if you've got a good dynamic scripting functionality, and you can get your agents, you can move them from, just training to live calls, and have a little more kind of training wheels with the dynamic scripting to support that. That's going to cut down on your training time and get them producing money sooner for themselves and for you, which is also gonna help with turnover. So that's the key importance. You also mentioned, email and, omni-channel. I think having an omni-channel solutions, reaching out to the consumers a variety of different ways. Consumers of today want to, are, much more likely to, respond to a text, or, maybe, touching them across all different fronts is important. And I think, looking ahead, we're going to see more intelligent, the conversational AI. The younger generations, they're going to be used to interacting with whether it's chatbots on a website, or whether it's an intelligent virtual agent on the phone or SMS text. That sort of interaction can help you reach the warm prospects and generate more live calls with lower costs. So it's definitely a technology that people are looking to.
Well, you just touched on something earlier when you were talking about this. I want to kind of dive back in. Some of the biggest issues in this space, especially when considering outbound, and now that people have got a great dialer that's a shiny, fast toy, are the compliance and legal concerns to consider with the power of a dialer. With that great power comes great responsibility. Sorry to borrow that line again, but where do you guys think through the compliance part of all of this? Because you are part of the guardrail with a brand who may not always know how to not abuse the system.
Right. No, that's a good point. And that's why we are active, as I know you are as well, on consumer consent and PACE, the Professional Association for Customer Engagement, and really trying to be proactive and working with our members to let's police ourselves. Let's take the lead in acting responsibly with the consumer. Because the regulators are certainly, getting more and more active, not just at the federal level. And that's I think that's one of the challenges, is at the state level. We're seeing all these little mini TCPA laws spring up by state, whether Florida, Washington, Oklahoma, Maryland, all these, and Michigan's, all these other ones coming down the pike. So you really need a robust tool to be able to sort your list by state, or in some cases by zip code or area code, and then act appropriately. So for example, there's rules in a handful of states saying that you cannot contact a prospect more than X times within a 24-hour period. And that X may be different. So how do you make sure that you're doing that? Because the fines can be $1,500 to $2,500 per call. So that's, making sure that where there's tools and technologies that can allow you to do that, I think that's really important. The other thing, and that these regulatory agencies, they really, they acknowledge when companies have kind of gone above and beyond to try to really, try to arm themselves with a lot of tools for supporting compliance. So that's, making sure your dialer automatically integrates with the do not call list, making sure, a lot of times I mentioned the scripting, making sure that you're saying what you need to say, making sure that, for example, there's a lot of things that are being put in place to catch the illegal robocallers. And unfortunately, there's a lot of legitimate, compliant-minded companies that have prior express written consent to contact that consumer, and they're getting caught up in the net that's designed to catch the illegal robocallers.
Yeah, it was a great shout out as well to Rob and team at Consumer Consent Council and PACE. if you're in the lead generation business, you need to check out PACE Association and understand a lot of these legalities, because compliance can really bite you in the behind on the back
Absolutely.
end, other than it can just be a much better relationship with your customers if they know you're being ethical about it as well. But, one of the things that I remember talking to you at a conference, gosh, I get probably 6 months ago, but we were, this space can be confusing to buyers. And I was thinking about this going through a conference that I had spoken at earlier in the year. And I was thinking about brands that maybe didn't have the background I did. And they're walking around, and I've talked to people like who were attendees before, but when they walk through a lot of these conferences, they see booth after booth after booth, and they don't understand what each of them does. And it's hard.
Yes.
When you think about CRMs and other kind of SaaS technologies out there, for you and your team, how do you go about looking at the differentiation with your platform? And a lot of it comes down to cost, but it also comes down to the bells and whistles as well. And I guess basically, what makes your call center platform unique, and how should a buyer, whether they're in a conference or just sitting at their desk, go about considering what your unique is as well?
Right. Well, that's a great question. And that's why a lot of times, if companies are eligible to do a trial, we recommend doing a side-by-side trial and really putting it to the test, because I think that's when you can see, again, the side-by-side, which system is going to get those prospects on the phone more. And a lot of times, we've helped triple, and in some cases quadruple, contact rates. And those sound like big numbers, but we've definitely had case studies like that. But even if you could only increase contact rates by 10 to 30%, really doing the math and understand. You have to start by understanding your numbers yourself. So what's your current contact rates? What's your current revenue per conversion? And so then looking at what would, and you can do the math, what would a 30% improvement in contract rate, what would that get you? And then do it, like I said, doing the side-by-side trial to see what's it look like. How many, we did a side-by-side trial in terms of answering machine detection with one of the larger players in the space. And again, which is primarily an inbound solution. So they're not as focused on answering machine detection. Well, we were having 5 times as many conversations, which was also led to 5 times as many, sales, and the conversion rate went up because the agents were having more fun and having more good conversations. So I really think trying to do the math in a metrics-driven way and side-by-side trial is going to lead you to your best answer.
So if you could either use a crystal ball or a magic wand, where would you like to see dialers go in the, say, near to midterm future? A few years out, where do you think the industry, I guess, will be with the advances that you look at?
Right. So I really think that a lot of the regulatory pressures are going to drive the industry to higher cost and higher quality leads. And so that means a couple of different things. It really means, man, you better have your systems in place to do the analytics. If you're spending more for these leads, you really want to make sure that you're properly working them in the most efficient way possible, and that you can tell what your cost per acquisition is by lead source, so you can make those smart decisions. So I think that's going to be, one direction is it's really going to be a necessity for the software to give you those answers. The other thing, in terms of, we've heard a lot of talk about conversational AI, and I think people are really going to want to give that a shot to see what it can do. What are the repetitive tasks that might be more properly done and more economically done by an intelligent virtual agent? So maybe the initial set of questions for qualification Maybe it's kind of nurturing those leads and try to do appointment setting. Maybe you have appointments. I know in the home services industry, their no-show rate for physical face-to-face appointments can be, 50%. So that's very costly when you look at what you spend in. So how can you use a conversational AI to, reconfirm, remind those folks? And again, it's not to replace human agents, but it's to really utilize human agents for the special tasks that only they can do, like closing the deals.
Yeah, great point. Lisa, I ask this of everybody who appears on the show, especially since my nickname is Shark. But what is your favorite kind of shark and why? You're in LA. You're
Ooh, what I will have to say the great white shark,
Yeah.
and that's because seeing the movie as a young teen, seeing the movie Jaws when it came out, I was fascinated by it. I was also fascinated with Roy Scheider, but that's what would be my favorite.
Yeah. Well, you got a bunch of baby great whites not far off the
Yeah.
cold as ice waters in LA. So anyway, all right. Well, Lisa, it's a special time of the show. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting and important questions that you're going to be asked?
Oh, I thought the shark one was one. Yes, I'm ready.
It's a warm up to those. So,
Okay.
all right. Number 1, here we go. We've talked a lot about speed. Would you rather watch a Formula One race or a NASCAR race? Because last time I saw you, there was a big car as part of your kind of promotional logo.
Yes. And I would say yes. And I was at the speed track, which was it was a NASCAR, and that was pretty going around the track. That was pretty bumpy. I'm going to go with a Formula One.
Okay. All right. Number 2, a real tough one here: Reese's Pieces or M&Ms?
M&Ms, definitely.
Okay. All right. Number 3, inbound or outbound?
Outbound. Oh, definitely outbound.
Makes sense. Yeah. I'm asking somebody that works with a dialer. All right. Number 4, and I know you're not partial to any of them, but I'm going to give you a couple of industries, and I want you to sort of pick one that you think works the best with dialers in general. Okay. Insurance, financial, home services, or education.
Oh my gosh, that's
not like your favorite child. I mean,
I was gonna, yeah.
I don't want to get you in trouble with one client versus the other. I mean, just in general with the industry.
I would, financial, I'm not going to say financial because financial is so broad. There's some real sweet spots in that around credit repair and debt settlement. But I love our home services clients, because I think I'm going to, even though insurance is such a huge, we love our insurance customers, and that's a big part of it. And there's so many different types between final expense and all the health insurance varieties and all the subsets within there. So it's going to be a toss. My initial thought was to say insurance, but I love my home services and solar customers, because a lot of times they've gone from door knockers to getting a call center together, and have really grown and taken care of a lot of these have become national chains, and they really rely on that. So it's a tough one between the two, but I will say.
All right. Number 5, and the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Oh, if we're talking American, I'm definitely going to say cornbread. But if we're going to talk British, I love biscuits, which are actually cookies. But I'm keto, so I've got to avoid it all.
Okay. Yeah. No, we're talking American biscuits or cornbread. All right. So, Lisa, where can people find out more about you? Keep up with what you're doing in the space. I know you speak at a lot of events and panels and all sorts of things as well, but keep up with your thought leadership in the dialer and call center platform world.
Great question. So you can find more about the company at convoso.com. Please on LinkedIn, follow Convoso. We've got a lot of great content that we're always sharing, both on LinkedIn and on our blog. And connect with me on LinkedIn.
That's a true marketing person when they've promoted the company they're working for before they ask to promote
Exactly.
themselves. So good for you. All right, Lisa, thank you so much for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Thank you, Kenneth. Great to talk with you.
So there was my conversation with Lisa Leight, the Chief Marketing Officer of Convoso, a predictive dialer and leading cloud-based contact center software for sales and lead generation teams. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from our conversation with her. First, she says that many people focus on the wrong idea with costs, and so many people want to translate dollars to direct revenue, and sometimes they get too stuck in that mindset. However, never be penny wise and pound foolish without being able to see what your real loss costs are as well. For example, just buying more leads isn't always the solution when you're not handling them efficiently, and that's costing you much, much more. As she said, don't throw bad money after good. Second, regardless of what piece of technology you ever buy and make part of your tech stack, never forget to consider how it integrates with your other pieces of the puzzle. I see this all the time where the bright shiny object someone added doesn't connect well with a Rube Goldberg machine you've already configured. Remember that your customers, they don't care about your matrix. So consider how all of your technology benefits them and works together. Third, never forget with lead generation to consider compliance. With technology considerations especially, make certain that technologies like a dialer help you become more compliant and never less. Challenge vendors to help you get there, and don't forget to consider joining professional organizations like the Consumer Consent Council and PACE, the professional associations for customer engagement. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you again for the privilege of your time, and I am so thankful to everyone who listens. I'm not using any predictive technology here, but I do predict that we'll be together again. Join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.